Safety first. I take this episode to show some preparation work before starting a journey on sea. This is the most important if you're planning a longer distance away from near shores, as it was when we crossed the English Channel from Wissant to Land's End, which is also theme of this episode. This is a video of my series Adventures with my Trawler Yacht Whitehorse, a Grand Banks 36. So let's talk about safety first. It means you have to prepare your trip, and it's one of the most important things you learn when taking the exams to be skipper of a boat or ship. Many things can happen when you're on your small boat on the sea. Not all can be foreseen or avoided, but a good and serious preparation is key to lower the risk for yourself and your team and guests. So today I would like to look into how I prepared our journey. The planning of the journey as a whole from France to Norway started already before I bought my Grand Banks. It was more a feasibility study whether it could be possible to buy a boat in France and drive it home to Norway by myself. The planning got more serious when I had decided to buy this boat in Porte-la-Forêt. I used the nautical maps of openseamap.org, which have great details and are free available for the whole world. Dividing the distance into daily portions of about 8 hours driving, I found that it would take us at least 21 days at sea. Having 1 day rest every 6 days, it would take at least 24 days. But this implies that the weather was always good, the sea conditions were perfect, and the boat would not have any problems. I printed out a map for every day at sea and put it into a folder which I took on the boat. Preparation for the next day's journey starts the evening before. The first I do is to check the weather prediction along the route. As I planned to travel about 8 hours a day, this covers about 16 nautical miles or 110 kilometers. I usually checked the weather at the start point and at the end point. In addition, I checked the predicted wave heights along the route using openseamap.com. Preconditions for me to keep up planning for the next day was wind of not more than 6 meters a second, which corresponds to 13 to 14 miles an hour or 11.7 knots. Furthermore, I didn't want waves predicted higher than 1 meter, as this means that 1 in 1,000 waves could be up to 2 meters and 1 in 100 waves could be 1.5 meters. When I have green light from the weather and sea condition, I checked alternative marinas along the route, especially at the last 30% of the travel, as we could have to sail slower than anticipated due to higher waves or stronger wind or current against us. Having determined the alternative marinas, it is good to note their phone numbers and VHF frequencies of these marinas. On this special occasion, where we crossed the English Channel and therefore entered the UK, I had to check again the legal rules of law we had to adhere. I already had sent an Excel sheet with our names, passport numbers and planned dates of entry to customs authorities, that is the National Yacht Line. I checked again which phone I had to ring when reaching the 12-mile zone, and I checked whether I had the yellow Q flag available, as we had to raise that when entering the UK. When all these preparations were done, I would have a talk with my mates to explain the planning of the next day. In the morning, before leaving the marina, following checks had to be done. Check again weather and sea conditions. Check diesel fuel. 8 hours of travel needed about 100 liters, which meant for me 300 liters at least in the tanks, as I wanted to have enough spare fuel. Check oil on both engines. Check cooling fluid on both engines. Check whether we had enough drinking water. When the engines run, check for any special noises and whether there is water guzzling out of the exhausts. Wait for the engines to be at least 60 to 70 degrees, which meant about 15 to 20 minutes before we could leave. To measure fuel and check the oil, I had to open the hatch at the floor and crawl down to the engine room. My original plan was to visit Scilly Islands when coming from France. The weather and sea conditions for Scilly were not good enough. There was considerable wind to be expected. I therefore replanned to use Penzance as our first marina in the UK. It would be nearer and the coast would grant some protection from westerly winds. We left Ouessant early, just after 7 o'clock in the morning, and expected that it would take us about 13 to 14 hours to reach Penzance. The distance was about 180 nautical miles. The weather was good for the crossing, with low winds good into the afternoon and significant waves of about 50 centimeters to 1 meter. When we had crossed about 1/3 of the channel, a light fog settled on the sea, limiting the sight to approximately 3 to 4 nautical miles. This meant we could see about 30 minutes ahead of our travel and give us still enough time to change direction if we would need a larger commercial ship. After having crossed a bit more than half of the channel, we were excited to see our first wild living dolphins, about 100 meters west of our boat, and we even managed to get some videos of this. Coming closer to the UK, we had to decide whether it was feasible to advance to Penzance. This harbour has only a smaller part that is protected by a ram gate and offers water under the keel all day. The larger part can run dry on low water. This was a serious problem, as I hadn't reserved any space in the wet dock and we didn't want our boat to sit on the dried harbour. We therefore opted to head to Land's End, the southwestern point of Cornwall, and search for a good anchoring place. Such opportunity was found at Mill Bay near Nanjidal Beach. When we reached the 12-mile zone, I phoned to the National Yacht Line to inform about our entry into the UK. They confirmed having received my file with all necessary details and advised us to hoist the yellow Q flag and have that on until we were cleared at the next harbour. It was a surprisingly easy task, as I had expected to have to explain more. So I did as I was asked for, and we proceeded into the direction of Mill Bay. We reached Middelbaye just before sunset. At the northern part of this small bay we found to be in the lee of most waves and could lower our anchor. It did get a good hold in the sandy ground and we could settle down and get some food. After having done my chores with planning the next day, we were soon withdrawing to our beds. In the next episode we'll travel on to the Cornwall port of Padstow. There we had some troubles on the river because of the strong currents while waiting for the gates of the harbour to open. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please press the like button and subscribe to my channel. It will show me your support and interest to get more of such episodes while we travel to Norway. It will also help me to grow my base. Goodbye until next episode, which will come in about 1 week.